those soldiers, I challenge you. Now, I'll finish my point. You interrupted me. Hold on, you interrupted me. I never interrupted you. You've interrupted me twice now on this show.
I didn't interrupt you.
You did, actually. You interrupted to make false claims.
I did ask Alan a question.
Well, let me finish my point. Actually, my second point, Piers, was to you. I dealt with the Gershon basket and the deliberate killing of kids. They just killed 6 kids queuing up for water
about to talk about
yesterday. They killed 9 kids queuing up for nutritional supplements last week. Stop interrupting, Alan. Everyone can see you do it.
And it's under investigation.
Stop interrupting, Alan. Otherwise, I'll do it to you, and you really won't like it. Piers.
Ooh, I love that. So Mehdi Hasan and Alan Dershowitz go at it in this debate with Piers Morgan. I think it happened yesterday. Very new interview. Alan Dershowitz has a habit of speaking over people, and he's very good at it. Mehdi Hasan doesn't let it happen. Respect it and love it. If you enjoy this video, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel. Now let's continue.
Let me make my point to you that I'm trying to make. You mentioned the New York Times. I'm glad you've mentioned the New York Times several times. The New York Times piece, the long piece, has a lot in there. 2 important points for you, Piers. I've been coming on the show for over a year talking to you about Gaza. Last April and July, the New York Times reports that Netanyahu's own generals told him, there's no military strategy left. There's nothing more we can do. Stop this war. Netanyahu overrode them. So when I was on this show and you were telling me, of course, they're just defending themselves. What else should they be doing? At that time, when I was on this show, Piers, generals were telling Netanyahu there's no war left to be had. They also make it very clear in this piece that the government would have fallen apart had Netanyahu not prolonged the war because he wanted to avoid prosecution. Yeah. And I'm sorry that we needed the New York Times to say that, because I was saying that on this show to you, Piers. Many people were saying that this war is about Netanyahu trying to avoid prison. This is about Netanyahu trying to avoid prison. I know Alan is an expert on criminals. He's defended some of the worst criminals in the world.
Lawyers do defend criminals.
Well, he defends some of the worst people. Epstein, Netanyahu.
Yeah, but lawyers...
No one forced him to defend these people.
Some of the best
Piers, no one forced him to go volunteer to defend Benjamin Netanyahu.
You can't make aspersions against lawyers.
I can actually. I can say you don't need. You don't need to.
It's not very credible to do that.
Really?
Oh, come on. You know what? I've seen Piers Morgan do this a few times, and I kind of get it a little bit. So people always attack Alan Dershowitz, the guy here on the right, as basically he was Epstein's lawyer, which is disgusting, vile, a horrible creature. And so people often attack him for that, and Piers Morgan gets all defensive. Out of all things that one should get defensive about, why are you sticking up for him on that matter? It's so weird. Maybe they have some contractual obligation. But yeah, I think it's disgusting. You, as a lawyer, you choose your clients. And I think it's horrible, some of the people that he's chosen to defend.
Lawyers do their job.
Hold on, Piers. Somebody forced Alan Dershowitz to defend Netanyahu. He said he's proud to do it. No one forced him to do it.
Which criminal should he defend?
I'm proud to do it.
You're proud to defend Benjamin Netanyahu.
He's a criminal lawyer.
You're proud to defend Benjamin Netanyahu, Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein. You defend the worst people in the world.
I was proud.
Okay.
Yes. And I was proud to defend Bill Clinton.
What did he defend Bill Clinton as? Bill Clinton
and I was proud to defend Ted Kennedy.
Right.
I've defended people, and I've also defended Palestinians who were charged with offenses in Israel. I've also defended Palestinian students at Harvard who wanted to put up a Palestinian flag.
Have you defended Netanyahu's corruption trial? I think you've only defended his war crimes.
But you know what, Mehdi? I do think it's a very lame.
No, I've been involved in his corruption trial too.
It's a very. I've always felt a lot of people try this with Alan Dershowitz
because
there are lots of things you can argue with Alan about what he believes. But when people go...
Look at that. I don't even want to say anything. That smile, what a creep.
Ad hominem about him being a lawyer defending bad
Piers,
people.
Well, I'm going to respond now since both come
Most criminal lawyers I've ever met at some stage defend pretty
Piers,
dodgy people.
Piers, look at that.
It's their job, literally their job.
We're looking at our cameras. Look at your camera and say honestly that you would say to Saddam Hussein's law or Slobodan Milosevic's law or Vladimir Putin's law, you wouldn't say a word about people who choose in the West to go defend those people? Yes, you would. It's just you give Netanyahu a pass. I see him in the same league as Saddam Hussein, Vladimir Putin, Slobodan Milosevic. If a Westerner chooses to go defend these people, no one forced him to. I'm going to question their moral
judgment. Do they
judgment.
have a right to defend?
Of course they have a right to a defense.
Then they should have a right.
But no one forced.
Well, hang on. Then they
What a great point. That's something I didn't think about. The fact that someone in America goes to Israel to defend Benjamin Netanyahu or tell him, I will proudly defend you, that is really weird. Mehdi Hasan is so good. Just comparing it to Saddam Hussein, yeah, could you imagine someone from America going there to defend him? That's disgusting.
should have a right to have a lawyer defending them.
Of course.
You understand that?
Understood.
That's how the legal system works.
So if a British
justice
hold
works.
on, Piers, if a British lawyer volunteered to go defend Putin, you wouldn't cast any moral aspersions on them. Don't lie, Piers. You know you would.
So just to be clear, who should Alan be defending? Give me some criminal names.
People in New York, people wherever he lives.
Which criminals?
Why does he have to go defend Netanyahu?
What, give me some names.
Hold on. Why do you have to go defend Netanyahu?
I do have.
I think it's a crazy attack.
I
look at vile people and I wonder, why would you volunteer to go defend that person?
Because they're lawyers.
So many falsehoods in there. There was no Palestinian state offered in 1967. That's when Israel began its illegal occupation of the West Bank and Gaza. And even if we buy this nonsense that Clinton and Barack
how about 1948?
I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking. Can I say my point? You've said all your falsehoods. Now I'm going to debunk them.
Boom, got him. Mehdi Hasan will not be stopped, even by Alan Dershowitz.
You said that Clinton and Barack offered a state. Not true. At Camp David, both sides turned down the deal. Shlomo Ben-Ami, who was the foreign minister, said, I wouldn't have taken that deal at Camp David, the Israeli foreign minister. Then Taba came along, and Taba fell apart because Barack went to the polls and lost the elections. Ehud Barak lost the elections. He was a lame duck prime minister. Sharon came in. So you can rewrite history all you want. No one believes that's the case. But even if you were telling the truth, which you're not, let's talk about today. Benjamin Netanyahu brags that he's blocked a two-state solution. The guy who you volunteered to be a lawyer for in front of the International Criminal Court, wanted war crime suspect, has openly bragged that I blocked a two-state solution. His words, I blocked a two-state solution. So you can rewrite history all you want. The present day is proof that you're talking nonsense. This Israeli government, this far-right government, has no interest in peace with the Palestinians, only interested in ethnic cleansing. And the best part of listening to you speak about agency, everything you said could be said about Hamas and the Palestinians. The Palestinians would say Hamas is a result of Israelis not giving us our freedom. Hamas is a result of Israelis besieging and boycotting Gaza for decades on end. Hamas is a result of Israeli leadership coming and killing our leaders and imprisoning our leaders. So the same arguments you use to defend genocidal fascists in the Israeli government could be used to defend Hamas. So much was said and so much nonsense there was said about violence and killings by someone, as I say, who's volunteered to defend Netanyahu at the International Criminal Court, where he's been indicted with the former Israeli defense minister for war crimes.
I'm proud of that.
And crimes against humanity. Of course you're proud of it because you don't value Palestinian life. Let's just deal with some things you said. Number one, you talked about deals and negotiations. Gershon Baskin, who is the only Israeli negotiator to have ever successfully negotiated with Hamas, keeps saying, he said it just the other day, go check his Twitter feed, that he has communications from Hamas saying, we have offered the Israeli government a full ceasefire. We will leave government. We will not govern Gaza. We will return all the hostages in return for a permanent ceasefire. Israel doesn't want a permanent ceasefire because Smotrich and others want 60 days and then they go back to the killing when the hostage is released. He's offered a permanent end to the war. Israel doesn't want a permanent end to the war. That's what Baskin is saying. Secondly, you talk about killing of kids.
I would like that.
You talk about killing of kids. I mean, the Israeli military does intentionally kill children.
Deliberate.
Let's read 972. Israeli publication interviewed 7 Israeli soldiers and officers, Piers, who returned from Gaza. Just last week, in several cases, the soldier said Israeli troops deliberately targeted children. There was a boy who entered the zone. He didn't do anything. Other soldiers claimed to have seen him standing, talking to people. That's it.
And
they dropped a grenade from a drone. In another incident, soldiers tried to kill a child riding a bicycle.
And they get prosecuted
So
for
they have not been prosecuted. Alan, don't lie on television where people can fact you. None of them have been prosecuted.
Yes, they have been.
Which soldier?
I know they have been.
Which soldier was prosecuted for dropping a grenade on a child?
There are dozens
of them.
You're lying
on national TV. Piers Morgan can come back on the next episode and tell everyone that you're not telling the truth.
He is just so good right off the top, because right now he's calling out Alan Dershowitz's lies too, and many people struggle to do that live on air. So not only is he calling out his lies, he's able to just control the conversation so well and just has all the notes right there ready. He's quick, man. He's quick. I mean, he should do a debating class. Honestly, Mehdi Hasan should do a debating class. Many people would pay for that.
Them have been prosecuted.
Not a single Israeli soldier has been prosecuted for deliberately killing a Palestinian child. That is a lie. A demonstrable lie. Everyone watching right now.
I'm sorry, you can't say things.
Hang on,
just to be clear.
It's insane to suggest that Israel has accidentally killed 17,000 children. Anyone who says that should be laughed off television, whether they're a professor of law or not. 17,000 people were not killed accidentally. The children who were killed in a waterline were not killed accidentally. The children lining up, 9 who were killed last Thursday for nutritional supplements, as UNICEF says, outrageously for UNICEF aid, were not killed accidentally. Children who were shot in the head by snipers were not killed accidentally. I have friends of mine, doctors, who have gone out to Gaza and have come back and said, we saw kids were brought to hospital with sniper shots, bullets to the head, to the chest. Multiple American doctors have said that. Feroz Sidwa, Mark Perlmutter, Irfan Galaria. Go Google it. People don't believe me. So it's nonsense. Israel is killing kids deliberately, has done so for the last 21, 22, whatever so months. You can't push this bullshit line anymore about people were hiding under hospitals.
Do you disagree?
We've seen it on tape, Piers. We've seen kids killed in cold blood on tape. You've seen it. I've seen it.
Do you disagree? do you disagree with what Alan said, that this was Hamas's deliberate strategy?
I don't know what Hamas's deliberate strategy was.
I'm just going to pause it for a quick second here and just remind everyone, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. I really enjoy putting out videos like this. I enjoy watching these videos myself, in case you weren't able to tell as of right now. But when you like these videos and subscribe, these videos go out to a larger audience. More people change their minds. More people share this. It's good for the whole movement. So I really appreciate the support. Now let's continue.
And if it was, by the way, Piers,
hang on, let me finish the question. They created a vast tunnel network in which they hid, but left the civilian population to be slaughtered. So, in other words, I think it's perfectly rational to agree with what Alan said about the Hamas strategy.
Yeah, but hold on. What's interesting is, and as you pointed this out, why do it then? If we all know that's the strategy, no one forced Israel to go kill 100,000 people, just like, the Vietnam, the US, we burned the village to save it. No one forced Israel to drop 2,000-pound bombs on crowded refugee places. No one forced Israel to bomb hospitals. No one forced Israel to sniper shoot children. No one forced Israel to kill women holding up white flags, as we saw on tape with our own lying eyes. No one forced Israel to do any of that, which is why Karim Khan, the chief prosecutor, which is why the ICC judges all said Netanyahu and Gallant need to face war crimes charges.
A corrupt prosecutor.
Theodore, hold on, just to be clear on this. I know this propaganda is coming from Theodore Myron, who is a former chair of the International Tribunal on Yugoslavia, a former Rwanda tribunal judge, former legal advisor to the Israeli Foreign Ministry, former Israeli ambassador. Theodore Myron, 94.
See, it's one thing to know a background about one person, 5 people. This guy knows the background about everyone he mentions. It's very impressive.
4 years old, descendant of Holocaust survivors. He advised on that indictment and said, yes, Netanyahu should be indicted on the basis of all the evidence I've seen. He knows far more about war crimes than you do. And let me finish my other point. Piers, you keep saying...
No,
yes,
he
does, actually.
I know him.
Well, you haven't chaired an international... Alan, you have not chaired an international tribunal on war crimes in Yugoslavia. He did.
This issue.
So,
I've written books about it.
Great.
I've written a new book about it.
He actually prosecuted war criminals, and he's not corrupt. He's a Holocaust survivor. He's a 94-year-old Israeli-American Jew.
It doesn't mean he knows more about war crimes than Alan Dershowitz.
Yes, he does, actually. Somebody who's prosecuted war crimes, Piers does. And let me finish my other point, because both of you always interrupt me. Piers, one point you've said earlier about Israeli civilians, members of the public. You said moderate Israelis. You said earlier, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir don't represent Israelis. I wish that were true. I wish it was. But the Israeli
Well, you're going to cite that poll with 80%. But
I'm going to cite multiple polls, right?
Well, that one is a bit of an outlier.
Well, the Penn State, there are multiple polls, Piers. I can cite you 3 or 4. My colleague Diana Budo has written about it for Zeteo. There is a Penn State poll that shows 82% of Israeli Jews say they support ethnic cleansing in Gaza. 47% of them said they support killing every man, woman and child in every city that's taken back from Gaza, a la the Bible punishments of the Old Testament. So Israeli society is super pro the war, super pro getting rid of Palestinians from Israel. So unfortunately, we can't lay all this at Netanyahu's door and just say, it's all the fault of Netanyahu. If we got rid of Netanyahu, things would be fine. Actually, the Israeli opposition is super genocidal. The Israeli parliament's trying to get rid of the only leading Palestinian member right now. The Israeli public is
what percentage of Hamas are supported by the Palestinian people?
Quite a lot right now, because they see them as resistance. Yeah. I'm glad you read that.
Hang on. So in other words, you see the same problem on the other side.
I do see some problem. Let me make this point. Hold on. No, it's not, because you never let me finish a sentence. One side is the occupier.
Responding to what you said.
One side is the occupier. The other side is occupied. One side is the people fighting for their freedom. One side is the people denying them the freedom. But let me finish a point. It's very interesting that you mentioned about different attitudes. All I've heard on this show since it began today is poor Israelis, think about the Israelis. Alan has said multiple times now, if your people were killed and if your women were raped, then you would respond like this. Well, the Palestinians would say the same, because that's what's happened to them. Alan said, war is hell. If somebody came on the show, Piers, and said to you after October the 7th,
when did that happen?
Stop interrupting, Alan. Let me speak. You've spoken the most on the show. Let me speak.
When was there a 7-Eleven?
Piers, 7-Eleven is the name of the store.
Why was Alan Dershowitz saying 7-Eleven? And then Mehdi Hasan just goes, 7-Eleven is the name of a store. Yo, he is so quick. But honestly, I think about that point all the time. Every single Israeli supporter comes on Piers Morgan's show and says, they're doing their right. It's a God-given right to defend their home. They're just trying to protect their country. But why don't the Palestinians get those same rights? These people don't consider Palestinians as humans. Literally, they don't consider them equal to them.
7/11.
Piers, if somebody came on the show after October 7th and said to you, well, 1,500 people were killed in Israel, war is hell, would you be okay with that answer? You wouldn't be. So let's not tolerate it from supporters of Israel, please. Let's be consistent in our morality.
Okay.
Yeah, well said. This is the first Trump scandal I know of where the opposition to Trump is being led by his base, not by liberals, not by the left. Democrats have been very late to this story. It's his own people who are pissed at him. And as you say, look, there's only two options here. One is Trump and his crew lied to these people, made fools of them, brought them to the water's edge, as you say, tried to get votes off of a child abuse scandal, cynically, and then said, oh, there's nothing there is no file, even though Pam Bondi said it's sitting on my desk in February. Or there's the other scary scenario that Donald Trump, the President of the United States, is implicated in a child sex abuse scandal, which, of course, Elon Musk, his top donor, has said. He says Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files. No less a figure than his top donor and former government ally has said that. So that's a pretty big scandal. Then you've got Alex Acosta, who was Trump's Labor secretary. He's the guy who signed off on the sweetheart deal that Alan Dershowitz negotiated for Epstein in 2008. Acosta says, I was told to lay off Epstein because he's with the intelligence services. Those are the words of Alex Acosta, apparently.
He wasn't told by me.
So, interestingly, whether he worked for the CIA or whether he worked for Mossad, and of course he had ties to Israel. He was best friends with Ehud Barak. He lived in Israel. He invested in Israeli companies.
Later.
He had ties to Israel. I'm not saying he's in Mossad, but he definitely had ties to Israel.
Later.
And the administration should come out and clarify. The administration should clarify. Last point I'd make is this. We talked about Alan being a lawyer for Epstein, and, he can choose who he wants to represent. But more than just being a lawyer, Alan was a friend of Epstein's and a friend of Ghislaine Maxwell and went to the mansion and went on the plane. I'm not suggesting any wrongdoing, but I'm questioning Alan's judgment on this and many other issues.